You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BQN Hive Mind presents Let's Go San Francisco, the BQN's live Starfleet Academy, featuring myself, Davey, and today we have a BQN Patreon guest, Jim McMahon. Hi, Jim. Oop, and Jim's on mute. There we go. It's like a work meeting.
Hello. I reversed the polarity and got the audio working.
It's like literally every Teams meeting I have for work every day. You're on mute. And returning as well is Chad Writing. How are you, Chad?
Good. I actually just got home from work like 2 minutes ago. So
that's right. I forget it's always Friday evening for you when we do this, right?
it's just another meeting online.
Yeah.
But a fun one.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, how many of your work meetings do you get to sit around and talk about the latest episode of Starfleet Academy?
Zero.
The answer I thought I was going to get. The answer I thought I was going to get. Jim, how have you been? What's been happening for you lately?
I don't know, just a lot of work and stuff. And for anyone who is interested, based on conversations from the last time I was on here, things in Minnesota have been getting a lot better lately.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, we've been seeing the news that things have chilled out a bit.
Yes.
But still probably a lot more work to do, right?
Still a lot more work to do, but the actual situation itself seems to be easing up, although I don't like to talk politics. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, fair enough. We're here to talk about much more fun things anyway, but we're always thinking about you, Jim, and everyone in Minnesota as well. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for the update. Chad, what about in your part of the world? What have you, apart from working today, what have you been up to?
Not a ton, just working. I have a birthday in a little over 2 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow, so it's facing mortality. Every year I have to contemplate getting older, but other than, facing my own existential dread, it's great.
We've all got to do it. Well, it was my birthday last week, my 42nd birthday, and the way I felt doing this show immediately the day after my birthday drinks certainly dug up a lot of existential crises for me as well. Funny that 2 days from tomorrow... Well, actually, 2 days from tomorrow for you is actually 2 days from today for me, and 2 days from today for me is my wedding. I'm actually getting married in exactly 14 days from today, which I'm super excited about. Nervous that it's finally here. Between trying to wrap up everything with work, because I'm taking a month off to go on honeymoon, and writing vows, speeches, planning seating charts, but also trying to take care of my day job at the same time. And do this wonderful show, which is a lovely bit of respite. Yeah, life's crazy. I
can imagine that's super, super busy.
It is super busy, but, it's fun, and it'll be worth it. Certainly with the amount of money it's costing, I hope it's going to be worth it. But anyway.
Just pieces of paper.
Exactly. But anyway, we're here to talk about the latest episode of Starfleet Academy, which is episode 7, Cozine. I'm going to go Cozine. I'm pretty sure Cozine is what I remember it being. So
I think that's what I think that's what they said.
Yeah, absolutely. So, quick recap. Episode 7 gives us the traditional bottle episode to calm the farm after the trauma experienced in episode 6. It's spring break time at the Academy, or All Worlds Day, A short break for our cadets to cool off, and a further opportunity to make 32nd century Starfleet Academy feel like a modern-day college life in the USA. Caleb and Genesis get closer. Darum turns out to be royalty of some sort. Jaden looks fierce in a ceremonial dress, while Sam and Tarima are off recovering and generally being ignored. But it seems everyone is hiding a lot of respective secrets. This is an episode about healing trauma, giving characters more depth. So today we're going to focus our panel discussion on each of the characters, what we learned about them, and how we feel about the overall execution of this as the recovery episode, as is tradition with Star Trek. So before we dive into specifics, I always like to get high-level reactions from our panel and from the live chat. I can see there's a few of you in there watching. Jim, I'll start with you. What were your overall thoughts and feelings on this episode? What stood out, what worked, and what flopped?
Well, I'll say this. I didn't like the episode, but I didn't hate the episode either. I'm kind of mixed on it. Like, yes, I like the fact that it's a rare bottle episode in modern Trek, which is not something we have seen very often. I loved that, but it did not. It did not go it did not go into a whole lot of depth on the characters it did focus on. I thought beyond Darum.
Yeah, interesting. Chad, what about you?
I liked it. I thought it was good to get some character development that you hadn't really seen before. It also helps develop some of the species and the worlds. The Kyonians, you hadn't really heard about what their society was like, and being a new species, that was interesting. And then kind of finding out more about some of the other characters and their personal life is good. And we got Jet, so that's always fantastic.
We do always love having a little bit of Jet. I think for me, this episode has done to me like what a lot of Starfleet Academy's Season 1 episodes have done, where not all of them I've loved straight away. Some of them have, but there's been a lot of episodes where I've had to just kind of let it marinate a little bit in my brain once it's done. Because when I kind of watched it and I was like, reaching for the phone, that's always like a good test as to how engaged you are by an episode. Because I was very much sort of, it was struggling to hold my focus and attention. And you kind of expect that with a bottle episode like this, especially off the back of what have been like 2 or 3 really just high intensity, high impact episodes. I mean, even the Cisco one, I mean, maybe not that intense, but definitely, very full-on and engaging for the viewer. I liked that they were trying to explore the other characters. I think it wasn't the most perfect exploration. I think there could have been some more depth. I don't like that we missed out on finding out what was going on with Sam, but I guess we've already had a Sam episode. But it's one that I think will benefit from a bit of a rewatch, I think. I don't know. Have either of you watched it more than once, Chad?
I've only seen it the one time.
Yeah.
Sacramento comes out at 10 p.m. on Wednesday, so would have been nice to watch it twice. But I think I will say one thing that did make it just off the bat. It was a little bit shorter. It wasn't an hour, and it was more about 50 minutes. And there are a lot of people in the comments saying, it should have been a lot shorter. I was glad that I think 50 minutes, because that was about what the original series was, because there are fewer commercials back then. I think that's a good length for Star Trek.
I think so too. It's that extra sort of like 5 to 10 minutes over the 40-ish minutes episodes that we got in the 90s, where things had to wrap up really, really quickly. It's probably just enough to stretch the story out without it overstaying its welcome. But we'll probably see more of those like 60-minute plus episodes though as the season wraps up towards its conclusion. Right. Let's dive into what happened this episode. So we're going to talk about the panel questions I've got for today are really about the characters and what happened. We had different character groups together, and we learnt more about them along the way. Let's start with Caleb. So, Caleb, at the beginning, is trying to send messages to Terima, after we saw the intensity of their love and their passion in the last episode, but she broke into his brain and he didn't like it. Learned stuff about him that probably only Captain Archie knows. And Genesis is hanging out with him, solo at the academy. They're both kind of hiding something. Chad, I'll start with you. What were your impressions of Caleb's story in this episode?
Yeah, that's it. It wasn't. I'm trying to decide, was that the A plot or the B plot? It was interesting. He was just kind of trying to relax, spend some time by himself. The fact that he's more or less an orphan. That must be hard when you have some kind of holidays. Again, there are comparisons to Harry Potter during his holidays. And it's only like 4 days. It seems like some of it was a little over dramatic. Some of it's 4 days. When I was in college, I was basically homeless for like a week and a half, where I didn't have, like, my contract for housing ended and my new contract for my new place didn't begin. And there was a week and a half gap where I went home, and I also lived on friends' like couches and floors. So like 4 days, I mean, dramatic, but I thought it was interesting to put Genesis and Caleb together, because I thought that in the original, like in the pilot, that they were going to be an item. And I was like, should I ship them? Should I not ship them? They seem like good buddies.
Yeah, but they had... There was a moment there, though, wasn't there, where there was that, like, ooh, are they going to kiss kind of moment? They always do that. They linger on the look at each other and then and laugh. Did you pick up on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It seems now that he's shifted towards being interested in Terima, that he's not so much interested in Genesis, which makes sense. I mean, he's kind of already emotionally involved in someone else.
Yeah. You mentioned there as well, not sure if this was the A plot or the B plot. That's getting a bit of mention in the chat from Kevin as well. And Kevin says, not sure there was an A plot or a B plot difference. Kevin, I think I agree. It felt like both of those plots got equal airtime. Normally when you've got an A plot and a B plot, the B plot gets about like maybe just on a third of the airtime, whereas these were kind of getting half. I have heard suggestion that it could have benefited from a C plot, which could have been maybe something to, maybe what was happening with Sam in the holographic spa that she was at. I'm not too sure. Jim, what about you? How did you feel about Caleb's story in this episode?
Well, I guess we could say the Caleb plot was the A- plot then.
Wow. Harsh but fair.
I was just making a lighthearted joke there, but I'll move on to what I was thinking. I must not have picked up on the flirting or whatever between Caleb and Genesis, because I never saw it. But then that could also be because as an autistic individual, I have never been one to usually pick up on stuff like that, so that could just be me. But I found their pairing interesting, let's say. And I'm guessing, Davey, you weren't complaining during his suntanning scenes?
I watched Starfleet Academy for the plot, is what I'll say about it. It's all about the stories. So much coconut oil. Anyway, get going.
That's all I got on that for now.
Yeah, and on your comment there about you didn't really pick up on the flirting, I think, the moment that Chad and I were talking about there was very subtle. I think you could blink and miss it, and that's why I think there's probably a bit of debate: were they flirting, were they not flirting? I think there was more of a platonic, just understanding and appreciation kind of growing between them. Yeah, it it was a friendship that we probably haven't seen too much of yet. That both of them, who are normally full of bravado, showed each other a lot of vulnerability in this episode. And I think that was kind of what a lot of the characters were doing, was showing a little bit of vulnerability to each other.
It makes sense. I wouldn't see it either, because when it comes to stuff like that, you literally gotta go bonk on the head with me in order for me to pick up on stuff like that.
Yeah, Kevin says there is the potential for a triangle, though, since that is definitely in Starfleet Academy in the 32nd century. Either a love triangle or, hey, maybe one in, all in, who knows? And, writers, especially of teen dramas, love a good love triangle. It's very, very common.
That's kind of bordering in the 90210 territory there.
It is. And so let's talk a bit more about Genesis then. So, Genesis, she's been quite visible in this season. There's been a lot of her. She hasn't had much of her own big stories. I wouldn't say this was a Genesis episode, but we certainly I feel I got to learn a lot more about Genesis than I did anyone else. So she's put on the command track, and she gets awkward when we find out that they are going to be checking her references. And she goes through that whole thing of breaking onto the bridge, and we find out that she modified her references and all that kind of stuff. Chad, did you enjoy learning these things about Genesis? Did you think this was good for her character, bad for her character? What were your thoughts?
I mean, that seems like a pretty serious violation to break into the school's computer system, for a weird reason, because she could always say, "I'm just not interested." And I mean, I understand the human instinct is to want to have things happen, not necessarily because of her own choice. It's called the choices. It's hard because she doesn't maybe want to be the person saying no to a fantastic opportunity and then always wonder what would have happened. But she definitely kind of has, like, getting up at 4:30 in the morning to wake up, or whatever the time was. I thought that was very interesting. She is definitely kind of the type A personality. It was interesting to see her featured, which I thought was kind of cool. Speaking of the whole, like, will we ship them, will we not? Just the fact that Genesis is willing to use Caleb for some pretty nasty things, that she's very aware that it could get him in trouble. That's kind of a big, big, big red flag.
Yeah, I like Genesis, but I didn't. There were some things about what happened in this episode where I was like, either I wish I knew early on that she was hiding something like this, because to have it sort of revealed very, very suddenly. I mean, like, it was very obvious from the moment Arke saying, "Hey, you're on the command track," and she's like, "Ha ha ha!" Like, you knew, okay, cool. Something about her references and her admission is being hidden here. But I wish there'd been a hint about that dropped earlier, so there was a little bit more of that tension of, will they find out? I also think that that's what did happen, which is her falsifying or modifying her reference letters is fraud? Is that fraud? Would that be fraud of some sort? Like,
Kinda.
Yeah, like, it's certainly, like, misleading in some ways. And I thought not even the punishment for breaking onto the bridge, but for lying on her application. We've heard episodes in the past, in previous Star Trek, where lying on your academy application can get you kicked out of the academy. She just got sent to clean toilets.
Yeah.
Maybe they just can't afford to be kicking cadets out over minor infringements at the moment.
I mean, as Kevin is saying in the comments, like, Ake is not a very strict disciplinarian. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it would be kind of weird to lose a main character at this point, but yeah, that's pretty wild that she only got, you said, 200 hours of, like, mandatory service.
Yeah. I feel like Arke has this whole ability to sort of see past things like that a little bit, and maybe that's her age and her wisdom and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I I think I remember Kevin talking about that in our Discord chat too, about not being that big a disciplinary. And the more I sat on that, the more I'm like, oh, geez, the consequences are pretty light on. Jim, what did you think of the Genesis plot?
Yeah, I thought there was definitely red flags too. I mean, and that kind of raises issues with Starfleet Academy too. I mean, like they have to check her references again. Like, wouldn't they have already done that before she got into the academy? Like that's like sounded kind of weird to me.
Yeah, and it's also this comes back to the, like, you know, not seeming futuristic enough sometimes. It's like, hey, it's the 32nd century. Surely there'd be ways to pick up if a reference has been modified, and if it would even be like an actual like typed or written letter. Like it's a little off.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it's. I mean, overall, I think it's good for her character. She's like Caleb.
And it advanced the plot, which I did enjoy. And on a little side note in that scene, I liked the fact it gave Tig Notaro when Jet busted them a rare moment of actual acting. Like yes, Jet started with a joke, but the tone of voice was deadly serious during the entire scene.
Yeah, I think you mean like, yeah, she got a bit of range. Because Tig's a great actor.
Yes, but it's not something we normally see out of Tig, at least in Academy, because they've been utilizing her comedic skills more than anything.
Oh yeah. She's the comic relief for sure. Yeah, and I liked that scene when Reno comes in when they're hiding and the warp slug is bouncing around the room. And she's on.
And I did have one problem with that scene.
Oh yeah, go on.
I get it was. I get and understand it was probably actor availability, but did that? But did we really have? But did that really have to be the only time we have Lura Thok in the scene? By hearing her, we couldn't actually see Lura Thok.
It was funny though, because I do agree to an extent, but I do feel it kind of worked because, you know, she's essentially on the phone to her complaining about a sore toe.
Yeah.
And Thok's whole, like, we learned something more about Lura Thok there, and that is that she is a bit of maybe an overprotective or overreactive partner, because she's like, oh my god, are you alive? Like, are you okay? And it's like full, like, dramatic. Did you enjoy that scene, Chad?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I mean, it's always good to get Jet on there, but I mean, she's half Jem'Hadar, half Klingon, so pretty much like that's how. Like, of course, she's going to be overprotective.
Yeah, exactly, and it may be a little overdramatic too.
Yep. And Tig is kind of the opposite. Tig's like, whatever, I'll just kind of take. Or sorry, I say Tig, Jet. Seems like Tig Notaro is basically Tig Notaro, just in different situations, and that really works for her.
Oh yeah, I mean, from the moment she showed up on Discovery, she's always been the same. If you see Tig Notaro doing interviews on, I've recently seen her on like Jimmy Kimmel and stuff like that. You know, she's being Jet Reno, very dry sense of humor, but I think that's why we love her as the character. We love having Tig Notaro as herself, essentially, in the show. Cool. Any other final thoughts on Caleb and Genesis before we move on?
Yes, one thing. Dadmiral, finally, a term in universe on Star Trek. Caleb referred to Genesis's dad as Dadmiral. It's a term the fandom has been using for a while. Now it is a term in universe.
Yeah, and I just saw, Chad, you're engaging with Kevin in the chat there around also a play on a term that we use, which is Badmiral, for all of the admirals who have gone rogue. But yes, Dadmiral, I thought that was pretty amusing.
Yes, and I actually thought that with at least at the beginning, with like her going off to her family at first, we might actually meet her dad, Merle, which I was kind of disappointed we didn't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was wondering if the Dadmiral even existed for a while there, but I think he does, and that's kind of I mean, she probably got into Starfleet because of her dad, but even though the reference letters were going to be bad, was that was that the vibe? Was that what happened?
That's
I
kind
wasn't
of the
quite
vibe I
sure.
got.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, because I was left wondering if the Dadmiral was even real. I'm sure we'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out. Chad, any last thoughts on Caleb and Genesis for you?
No, now that I think about it, it's very interesting. It developed the plot. I'm now that I kind of go to the A plot, B plot, it does seem like almost there were two B plots in a way. I
Yeah,
mean, I liked the episode. I think it worked, but
yeah. These are often if you go like watch a DS9 or a TNG or a Voyager, especially DS9. These are the kind of like little like character interactions you get in a wacky B plot that's usually meant to kind of just distract you a little bit from, or kind of give you a bit of relief from whatever the high tension A plot is. So, yeah, I mean, an interesting experiment on Academy's behalf. But then again, bottle episodes kind of always feel a little bit B plottish. You know, I think when we've talked about it on Discord, people were talking about this is in the same vein as, Family after Best of Both Worlds, and they did a similar one after the Zindi stuff in Enterprise. It's kind of always
This
been
was
the way.
clearly the episode where they didn't want to spend money.
That too, and you just kind of want to let the audience kind of just rest for a bit after like a big kind of series changing event like we had last week. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. So, Darren Ramey is royalty. Jaden is his best man and is officially dating Kyle. And I think it's been an interesting and subtle kind of growth in the friendship between Jaden and Darren Ramey. Jim, I'll start with you this time. The reveal about Darren and the wedding and the calling it off, all that kind of stuff. What did you think?
First, I want to start. With like the opening of the episode. There, I got a couple of points. Like, a, I want a boy, top-notch security at Starfleet Academy. There,
I know there was I was like a total Doctor Strange, or what do you call it? Whoever the Marvel character is, yeah, his kind of portal thing going on there.
yeah, but yeah, top-notch security at Starfleet Academy, where apparently people from off-world can just beam, wormhole, whatever in, kidnap a cadet, and then get out without even security responding.
But it was like a stag night or like a Bucks party, like kidnapping almost in a way, because it was like
Yes.
it was like the traditional ceremonial kidnapping, because they were kind of like, were they almost like cutting like the cork off like a bottle of champagne or something like that when Jaden like arrived with the rock over his head?
Yeah, that part I'm not sure. But the second part, like after Jaden stepped through that Doctor Strange like thing, which I do agree on for the graphics, like I desperately wanted a scene that we obviously never got of Kyle going, Jaden, where are you? What happened to you? And of Kyle like trying to find out where Jaden went, because the way I understood the plot, it sounded like Kyle just went to Ibiza anyway on his own and learned after the fact where Jaden went.
Yeah, that's a. He forgave him pretty quickly. He's obviously still went and had fun in Ibiza without him. And there's been a bit of anger over... I was watching Trek Culture's Ups and Downs this morning over Jaden mispronouncing Ibiza.
That part I had no problem with.
Dear. Chad, what about you? What are your like upfront impressions of the whole Raimi Jaden storyline?
I thought it was interesting. It was not entirely unexpected that his family was pretty powerful. Um, it was, and my overall thought, I guess, is like, if they'd said like, okay, we're getting rid of this Caleb character, or not Caleb, sorry, Darum character. Yeah, that's, I mean, real life, people leave things, people drop out of school, people
Mm.
find other things, and to be a king consort is not a bad gig. Um,
Mm.
so I mean, real life, I don't know, a lot of people would have said, I love this person. I'm gonna be a king consort, so it's not a bad life. Why not? But of course, we've kind of invested a lot in him as a character. And it was interesting to find, the relationship wasn't super interesting just because you don't find out that much about her and their backstory. But just like the fact that he was a very nice guy and now he's kind of playing the jerk at Starfleet Academy, maybe he has a heart of gold if you dig deep, deep down.
Oh yeah, I've been getting the jerk with a heart of gold since he helped Jaden with his public speaking. Um, Even like the whole resolution of him embracing the fact that he's an asshole and making asshole comments towards Kyle because that's
Yeah.
just kind of what he does.
I
Mhm.
just wish his, and we can get into this in depth later. I just wish his coping mechanism at the end hadn't been to go back to the asshole comments.
If you look at Darum's profile, they flash it briefly, and maybe I'm looking in the chat. Um, I thought it said that he was like 17 or something. I mean,
Darren,
people start college at Darum. That's what I thought. I mean, obviously the actor is not 17, but I mean, he's technically a different species, so who knows, right? But
Star Trek's used that excuse before, so
right, right. Well, I mean, Sam's just a couple months old, so
yeah.
um, so it does make it interesting. Kind of on that vein, like I looked up Kyle. Kyle's like born in 97, which scarily enough, as an almost 43-year-old, is very, 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 very young. And also the fact that people born in the late 90s are almost like 30 is kind of weird
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I get that sometimes when I was watching like old episodes of 6 Feet Under recently with my partner because we were watching through that, which was from like 2000 to 2005, and there's a scene with a baby in it, and I remember like going, "That baby's probably 26 years old now,"
And it
which
and it fits in with kind of that whole like youth show is that 20-year-old are played by 30-year-olds.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So going back to his relationship, there were some things I liked about it. Um, I mean, it was a very cliche, or one of the characters is actually royalty or from a very, like, strong, wealthy family and a surprise wedding. Geez, we've seen that a few times before. The twist I liked is that it was not that, it was a surprise to him that it happened so early, just not that it happened. He actually legitimately loved his betrothed, and they had a plan, and he was going to get to go off and go to the academy and adventure around the galaxy. Like, he didn't think he was going to have to do this until he was maybe like much, much older. So he was ready to do his duty, and he was super fine with it. I think where it probably got let down a little bit was just how obviously and quickly it got wrapped up. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he was that ready for it, would a quick little best man speech and her going, "Oh, on your way." I found that took
mhm.
me out of it a little bit. I would have liked a little bit more struggle behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that struck me as like the writers going, "Oh crap, we're on Act Four. Crap, we're on Act Four. We're on Act Five. Act Five, 75% through, and we need to wrap this up like in 2 pages or something like that."
Yeah, it's exactly that. And I mean, I appreciated the fact that it was like, yeah, okay, cool. Whilst that was his life, he want this. His true path is this, and all that kind of stuff. It was fine.
And
I
my
just
heart
thought,
and my heart broke for him there because you could see the pain on his face, and we've all probably had experiences like that where we where we had feelings for someone only for whatever reasons to have it get put back in our faces.
Yeah, I wish that there had just been a bit more to it. I think that whole resolution to it, whilst it made sense, I think in terms of just being a solid moment where, yes, he's breaking up with someone who he's loved all his life and he's giving up the future he thought he was going to have. I just would have liked a bit more emotion behind it. Not a bit like, oh, well, I'm just going to go be an asshole now.
So are they, and maybe I'm kind of dumb and I didn't fully get it. It was also late. Um, so like they're completely done with each other in a romantic sense, the Darum and his betrothed, or is it just like, well, we're not doing it now, maybe in the future?
Yeah, I might have to go back and watch again. I'm not too sure if that was kind of where they left it. Jim, what did you think?
I took it as being completely done, but with the writers, you never know.
Yeah, we may see her again. I wasn't a huge fan of the performance of the actor playing his betrothed either. She
I
felt
thought she did a decent job.
I don't know, maybe it felt a little wooden to me.
But hey, at least she didn't have to put the makeup on.
True, true.
That was one of the other things about this episode that, like, kind of irked me a little. They've established Kyonians are water breathers, yet they go to Kyonian culture. Everyone's a human. Everyone's human looking.
Yeah, but they've
And
got
then
this other form that we've only seen that once in the first episode. Sorry, Chad, what were you going to say?
Yeah,
I
that's
was
what I
gonna
was
say,
talking about.
I
Sorry.
mean, for the, oh, okay, yeah, Kevin's saying that they're getting it annulled. But that doesn't necessarily mean closure, but probably. So, in any case, yeah. So, in the pilot episode is when he had the change go down, and they had that episode on Trek Core that with him about that. I didn't get. I was at work, so I didn't get a chance to read it, but I just someone sent it to me. So, anyways, so for that, like part of the reason a lot of shows do bottle episodes is because previous episodes really go over budget. So, except for maybe some of that, I don't even know, whatever these green screen or whatever time, that was probably a little involved. Some of the costumes were and sets were a little involved, not that much, but maybe because they wanted to save money, they didn't want to go through all those special effects. This was just,
Oh, that's what I
one,
figured it was.
yeah, one way to do that.
So, moving away, I guess, from Caleb for a bit, let's also talk about Jaden. So, or I always go, should I call him Jaden or Jaden? Jaden or Jaden? Anyway, probably Jaden sounds easier, which is an interesting name for a Klingon, but if you hyphenate it, it becomes a Klingon name. So, I think, and I've loved Kareem, the actor who plays Jaden, who has been all over social media the last couple of days, just celebrating the fact that he is playing Star Trek's first ever officially queer Klingon. He's gone from flirting with Kyle, who I previously called Cadet Twink. Now that I know his name, I'll call him by his name. To they're actually together and they're going to Spain, and it's yeah. Chad, what do we think of this development? I mean, we kind of already knew it, but like, what did
Yeah.
you think of this for him?
I mean, uh, good for him. There. Kyle is kind of not a powerful personality in the show. Um, but it seems like they're happy. So they're happy. They're going on vacation. Though I was a little surprised that he wasn't very mad. But I guess like once you explain, oh, I thought my friend was getting kidnapped and I was trapped on this like desert moon, being the best man of this your nemesis. I don't know the emotional response you should have, but I guess Kyle was cool and understood. But no, it's very it seems like uh they like each other, so they seem like a good couple. Um, I will say this is maybe more Jaden centric, and maybe you notice this too. Jaden's feet are absolutely enormous. So when he was running after like the like swirling hole. It was kind of interesting watching him run. It was very interesting. It was like watching like a teenager run, basically.
I've not noticed his enormous feet before, but I
No, I
probably
haven't
will
either.
know. That's an interesting detail. Um, I will say, Kyle going off and just enjoying the party on Ibiza anyway kind of clocks with most gay men I know. They'll be like, oh, whatever. My boyfriend doesn't want to come. I'm going to go and have the best time and get ridiculously sunburnt anyway.
It kind of put Kyle like in kind of a negative light. In a negative light for me, like the person he really wants to come to Ibiza has disappeared, so he goes partying, and he doesn't sound an alarm. Like,
Yeah,
That's a good point.
yeah, it's there's a few plot holes in this episode in general, like the stuff we talked about with Genesis before, and this, like, it's, and I think that's why a lot of people are like very like I liked it, but because it's a little
normally,
inconsistent.
yeah, there can be some plot holes you can let go of. That was one. That was kind of a big one. That was kind of a big one for me. That's hard to let go of.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, I know it was only a couple of days, but yeah, I'd be the same, right? I'd be like, hey, even if the relationship was new, if we were supposed to be going to, somewhere on the other side of the planet together, and all of a sudden you just ghosted me, I'd be like, hell
Yeah,
no.
I would have been sounding like all sorts of alarms to the point where, like, yeah, Caleb and Genesis wouldn't have been the only people besides the Reno at the academy.
Yeah, true. What about Jaden, as best man, or as what was the actual word for it? Which was the name of the
Cosine.
episode? Cosine, yes. What about as the Cosine and that whole story and how he kind of showed up for his
Yeah.
friend here, even though his friend's a bit of an a-hole.
I liked it showed his growth with public speaking. Like we saw at the beginning of the episode where he's still somewhat nervous with public speaking, but he's past the point of like ventilating to the point of passing out. Like he's at the point where he can actually do it with a little help now.
Yes. And it was, again, there's this kind of like very like soft, tender relationship between them two as well, almost similar to what we have with, like, there's parallels to what was going on with Genesis and Caleb, because we've seen some we've seen an intense moment between Jaden and Darren before as well, and so there's a little bit of like dancing around them too. I've always thought there's a little bit of light flirtation going on with them as well, because Darren is quite sexually fluid, as a lot of our characters are. He's kind of hinted before at being polycule couples and all that kind of stuff. So I've thought there could have been a slight interest between them, but I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Jaden for this episode, Chad?
No, I thought it was interesting when he was giving the speech. Yeah, he really does know how to make a good speech, but also the fact that he got the effect that he desired. And it was like if I were like the Queen or Darum or whoever, I would not be happy. I mean, it's good that he showed Darum what he needs to actually do what he wants in his life and not just spend his entire life like doing what his friend wants. That was important. But also on like his wedding day, kind of saying that. I mean, it's good for the story and everything that he said that, but that was a little risky on Jaden's part.
Yeah, true. Jim, what about yourself? Any final thoughts on Jaden and Darren?
I've said pretty much everything I can think of on that one.
I'm gonna jump in. We'll just backtrack a bit because Kevin keeps dropping stuff, which is exactly what I was thinking in the episode, and that is sunburn in the 32nd century. I mean, surely we've been able to do something to either prevent that kind of sun damage, either from hitting people or sun cream technology. Anyone else find that odd?
I thought it was a little
Well, clearly he just hadn't been to the doctor yet.
Dear. All right, everyone. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes with our final thoughts, and we'll discuss some predictions for the remainder of the season right after this quick video that's going to let you know everything else that is currently available on the BQN Podcast Network.
What's happening on BQN, you ask? Let's chart the Star Trek cosmos with all good things. Embark on a comprehensive journey through the entire Star Trek universe with the insightful crew of Amy, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristen. Galaxy class, engage! Stephen and Stefan pilots this Alpha Quadrant mission, meticulously covering all aspects of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Infinite diversity. Stay current with the newest Star Trek Frontiers alongside Chrissy and Thad. Union Federation. Whether your allegiance lies with Starfleet or the Planetary Union, Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley offer a unified front, discussing both current Star Trek and the truly Trek at heart, the Orville. Crack open that book with Peter and the Trek Book Club podcast. Delve into a rich tapestry of Star Trek's beta canon. What's the tea, Bev? Christos spills the latest Trek news and fandom insights with an essential LGBTQIA+ perspective, complete with engaging guest interviews. Our visual voyages that you can find on YouTube as well as podcasts are Trek Masters. Think you're a Starfleet Academy graduate? Test your knowledge with Davey and MC's challenging Star Trek quiz show. And the View Screen. Tune in live on Sundays for your dose of a Trek-inspired talk show. Kelvin and Amy host new 8-week seasons each spring and fall. But beyond the final frontier, we have Bargain Bin Gamer. Davey and Mitch, your self-proclaimed gamer guides, lead you to digital treasures, unearthing and reviewing the most affordable video game gems. Cinema Z. Grab your metaphorical popcorn for Mark and Matt's cinematic deep dives, unearthing overlooked films that demand your attention. History with the Zalogis. In order to never repeat it, tune in as Chrissy and Jason deliver bite-sized snippets of historical events from around the globe. You can unlock deeper levels of engagement with our exclusive patron perks. The Hive Mind is where you can join our random script readings, live reaction shows, and roundtable discussions. We appreciate you choosing BQN to fill your auditory needs. Thank you for listening. Assimilate the audio.
All right, we are back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that quick little promo video of all of the amazing things that are coming up on the BQN or currently available on the BQN. Make sure you check those out. If you are interested in joining future broadcasts of the Hive Mind, we do offer participation on this panel to our Patreon subscribers, which you can do at patreon.com/BQN. And make sure you continue the conversation in our Discord server by clicking the link in the episode description, or give our episodes and videos a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. All of it helps spur things along and helps other people find our shows. So I'm back now with Jim and Chad. We're going to do a quick wrap up. I'll start with you, Chad. Final thoughts on this episode, and what do you think is in store for the remainder of the season? We've only got, 3 episodes left?
Yeah, there's 10 episodes. That was number 7. I think that it was actually a fun episode. I can kind of see where the haters are coming from a little bit. I think, though, that it was good to get this character development, particularly on like Genesis, and a little bit more on Caleb. Not Caleb, sorry. Darum, who I think was a little underdeveloped, other than just that he was a little bit of a jerk. So it was good to see that. I think it was a necessary episode to slow things down a little bit. As for what's happening, I don't, I mean, sometimes you get like these kind of arcs that build up, then you have a break, and then you'll get more into, towards the end, there'll be a little bit of a conflict. That weapon on that deep space or whatever they're looking at on that deep space, I'm assuming a weapon or something. Why did they want to steal that? Why was there so much effort? Because that must have taken a lot of planning just to steal this weapon. So I think that's obviously going to, come again. I'm wondering if there's going to be as big of a cliffhanger as, was between seasons 2 and 3 of Strange New Worlds, because that was 2 years of waiting. So we'll see. I think definitely Paul Giamatti is going to make another show.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's going to be something to do with Caleb's mother and all that kind of. I think we'll probably try and wrap up and answer a few of the questions that were asked of the audience in the beginning of the series. Jim, what about you? Final thoughts?
Yeah, you just went there with one of my predictions. I was going to say we'll probably see Tatiana Maslany again at some point. At some point as Caleb's mother, who I think, and I heard this posited on another podcast. Like, I think she might be the true mastermind behind the Venari Raw.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that last week. Actually, I think when we had Glenn here, we were sort of touched on that could be. It's certainly a plausible twist to have.
And as for the episode, this episode itself, like, yeah, I thought it was actually a very good choice, despite the episode's flaws, to have a bottle episode as kind of like a slowdown from like the highs we had a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. All I know is that I'm very much looking forward to it. So we've got Superstar. We've got episode 8 coming up this week. I've got episode 9, which I'm really excited about because Kelvin and Amy from the BQN are going to be here in Melbourne for the wedding, and we're going to get to watch it together, which we never get to do. And we may also be planning a little in-person podcasting session together for one of our shows while they're here, so that'll be exciting. Then episode 10, oh my god, episode 10, when that airs, I'm going to be in Singapore, and I'm going to be on my honeymoon, and I may have to avoid spoilers for a whole month. One, because I don't want to watch the finale on a crappy hotel TV, and two, I don't think my then husband, or now husband, or husband that he will be at the time, will really appreciate me wanting to watch Star Trek whilst we're on holidays. So,
sorry, I just thought of another prediction. Telly, I think, will show up at some point.
Oh yeah, because she was in the trailer. She's definitely gonna. Yeah, we haven't seen Mary Wiseman yet, so I reckon we'll either get her next week or the week after. I don't think Tilly will be finale material, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, well, that is it for today. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Chad, as always, for a fantastic discussion. Thank you to Kevin and Peter in our live chat for chatting along with us and recapping the episode as we go. Before we finish up, where can people find you online, starting with Jim?
I can be found in the Discord chats.
Nice. Link in the episode description. And Chad, how about yourself?
I'm on Discord and Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky at Chad Can Plan.
Excellent. Excellent. And for myself, you can find me in the BQN Discord. You can also find my BQN programs, Trek Masters and Bargain Bin Gamers, spelt Gaymer. If you are watching this live or you're watching this weekend, please head over to Trek Masters, because tomorrow we are doing a live premiere of our very exciting episode, which features Sean Ferrick from Trek Culture going up against Larry Nemeczek, Dr. Trek himself. We did pre-record this one, but we are going to do a live premiere so people could still play along together in the chat. So that'll be at the usual time, this Sunday in Australia and Saturday evening / afternoon in North America. It's so good, guys. Larry was amazing. He was so much fun to have on the show. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away because It's an incredible episode. So check that out. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. We will be back with more Hive Mind recaps in the coming weeks. Until then, make sure that you live long and prosper. Thanks, everyone.
Double T Media.